Hello again YouTube, this is Pure230688 aka BW Angelos, and I'll be bringing you my second 4v4 commentary video on the Finland map. Now the previous one was basically just for a laugh basically, but this one is more of a look on how to win with superior tactics instead of just relying on pure luck. Okay. I play on Team 1, and we just saw the composition of Team 1's troops, but pay special attention to Team 2's army, especially this army, who has spammed his green jackets, and also the army in front, under total attack, also has a large force of green jackets. Now also note how France is moving towards the British infantry. Their tactics, because they weren't using team talk, were to form one huge army of four in one, and then punch through on our right flank. So me and Knight, who is we're on this side, we saw the French redeploy and we thought we'd take the initiative and attack. Knight sees that one of the French units, a rifle unit, is lagging very far behind the other French units, and he could catch it with his light cavalry, and duly he will. Now, when one player has brought a spam army of green jackets, they needs to rely on good team coordination with the other players, and unfortunately for him, that is non-existent in this game. Our team, Team 1, is all using Ventrilo to communicate with one another, and I just imagine that the other team was just randoms who had never met each other before. So anyway, as you can see, Knight brings his second Hussar unit in and attacks that Tirailleur unit, which is lagging behind. Then the French retaliate by sending all of his heavy cav after the second Hussar, but by doing that he drags all of his cavalry out the wood, which means his second long-range rifle unit is exposed, and I take the initiative and send my heavy Garde du Corps after it, and I send my second unit to attack all three of his heavy cav to stop them attacking this unit. And I do take some losses because the rifles were ready for them, but it doesn't matter because I send most of them flying for the trees anyway. Anyway, right, once that's done, I then charge the second unit in. You can see all the French units retaliating by charging onto it. They stay locked on, and I drag all of his cavalry units in front of Knight's troops, and then I drag them all in front of my troops as well. You can see that the British army under total attack has had to reorganise after this has taken us less than 30 seconds to cross the entire map here. So they must have been slightly surprised by the speed with which we attacked them. Anyway, you can see the two French rifle units routing. That's the two key units to the French army, because now the French, who will make up the right flank of this army, have no long-range support, and I will use that to good effect in due course. Anyway, I pull my Garde du Corps out of the way, and like I said, a lot of them stay locked onto my cavalry and get stuck into my front line, so I just form squares. Knight attacks the two heavy cavalry with his one light cavalry, and then does the same tactic of retreating and dragging the two French cavalry in front of his front line. Now by dragging I mean they stay locked on in attack mode to his cavalry, and you can see that my line infantry are waiting for them. So all he does is he just runs in front of my line, and I shoot the cavalry that are chasing him. Now the Frenchman has also had to move up his 4 Swiss Guard units to back up his cavalry. As you can see, as he sees he's going to be totally annihilated in a second. The British guy, under total attack, has taken the woods on our flank and is using green jackets to pepper our flanks, but we're not too concerned about that at the moment. You can see how we created a bottleneck in the valley there with our cavalry. We put a bait unit in the valley, and total attack sends both of his cavalry units down into the valley to attack it. We then plug the other end with our two cavalry units and cause them to be encircled, and there's no way out of them. To ensure that none of the British units go down into the valley to help out their cavalry, I move my 5 Prussian Jeagers units up to pin them into the wood, while Knight and Alairon finish off the British cavalry. I put my Jaegers a long way ahead of my line, and I put them in light infantry doctrine. Why am I putting them a long way ahead of my line? It's simply just in case that any bullets that are missing from the green jackets don't go behind and hit my line infantry, which means I'll be taking unnecessary losses. I'll only move my line up closer if the enemy move towards me. Right. I'll just take a little lull here just to explain that this is in two parts again. It's actually one of the quickest 4v4s I've ever been in. You can also see now that the enemy has deployed, realizing that attack is futile, they're having to rely on defense now. So they've plonked in a stake wall from one end of the map to our position here. So that's a very, very long stake wall. He's also sending 2 cavalry units around my back. I don't understand why he's sending 2 cavalry units around my back, because there's no support for them, and I just isolate them. Now, like I said earlier, when I took out the French skirmisher units, that means he's got no range support. So all I do is I irritate him by shooting at him from range. Now, there's only 2 things he could have done there. He could either fallen back, which probably would have been the wisest option, or he will attack, which is not so wise, because I'll just move my main body up behind, and I'll have 2v1 fire superiority over his units. You can see now that I've detached a line infantry unit and 2 cavalry units to attack the 2 cavalry units that got behind me. Now I have an advantage here, not in numbers, because those 2 Garde du Corps units have actually been badly depleted, but in morale and stamina, because the household cavalry from the Americans has had to come from the other side of the map where the American position is, and hasn't stopped running and hasn't taken a rest, so they're virtually knackered, which means numbers will count for little for them. You can now see the Swiss Guard advancing up the hill. Not only do I have terrain superiority, I have fire superiority, and I have the woods for extra cover, so attacking me in that position is not wise. Keeping his cavalry pinned in with my infantry, I attack him from both flanks with my Garde du Corps. Aleron is in the background sending 2 other cavalry units over to help me, but they won't arrive in time to assist. Knight also shifts 3 line infantry from his main body and sends them onto my flank to cause flanking fire on the Swiss Guards, who are now being chopped up piecemeal. I'm taking very few losses here because he advanced far too close, and I managed to get 2 or 3 volleys off from my line infantry and my Jaegers before he even returned fire. You just saw some of the Swiss Guards' flags blinking, which means they won't last much longer. Now, this has all happened because we used speed. We raced across the map at 100 miles an hour and we caught the enemy off guard. So if you ever see an enemy showing any signs of weakness, like redeploying or basically exposing a flank or anything, you've got to take the initiative and attack immediately, like we've done here, because it totally flummoxes the enemy and they're caught off guard temporarily. It's only temporarily, but it's enough usually to give you an advantage. You can see I've routed virtually all of the Swiss Guard units that were deployed against me. I've also now finished off the American and French cavalry, which gives me cavalry superiority and frees up that infantry unit to rejoin the main fight. The last Swiss Guard unit is hidden in the trees, but this is the end of part 1, so stay tuned for part 2.